Good morning, everyone. It's Jen. Hey, I've got a question for you this morning. How many times is the 29th floor mentioned in the 81-page fit report? Okay, I know you're thinking right now, what are you even talking about? Why does it even matter? Well, I think it matters because the answer to my question is one time. One time in 81 pages in that report is the 29th floor mentioned. As most of you, I'm sure, have probably listened to at least the first hour of this scanner traffic from that night, you will know right off the top of your head that there was some action going on the 29th floor. There was confirmed shooter on the 29th floor. So as I'm looking at that report, I'm thinking, where's that information? Because, they do give us a nice schedule of events. However, as I'm looking at that, there is a 25-minute period missing from 10:16 to 10:41. So that's pretty important there. Why is that missing? Because I think stuff was going on. And then from 10:41 to 10:56, which is another 15-minute period of time where they don't really give us any, blow by blow of what's happening. So in that first 25-minute gap, I went back and listened to the scanner traffic, and the 29th floor is mentioned 9 times in 25 minutes. Pretty important. So the theory that I've had in my head for a couple months now, and the story I was going to do my original first video on, was going to be on this very subject. However, I got off on a different route and started doing something else. When this report came out and I dug into it, it made me really go back to the whole 29th floor and Jesus Campos and why can't we make his story fit on the 32nd floor? We couldn't make it fit. Even the police couldn't make it fit, let's be honest. Still, it hasn't been resolved to this day. So, as I'm reading the report and I'm seeing things that are just kind of, you would think, not significant, being kind of beaten over and over and over and over like that drum. And then I know for a fact from the radio traffic that there's other things that more than likely should be in that event timeline that are just simply and purely omitted. By now we've all probably sensed the pattern. Anything that they really want us to believe, they're really just going to over-exaggerate it, inflate it, say it a lot, so that they can get us to believe it. Anything that they don't want us to look at, they are going to try to mention as least as possible. Anyway, that's my opinion, and that's what I see. So hopefully I can take you on this journey with me and present it in a way that you understand why I came to the conclusion that I have come to. And we will get there. It's probably going to be a little bumpy ride. I wish I had some clever way to present this, but honestly, I don't. So I'm going to do the best that I can. And unfortunately, the first thing that I think we need to do, it's going to be painful, and I apologize, is we really need to refresh ourselves on the interview that, I say interview lightly, the interview that Ellen did with Jesus and Stephen Shuck. So, okay, it's going to hurt, but let's do it.
Jesus, you're the security officer, and you were called to check on a door that was I guess when a door is left open for a certain amount of time, you're supposed to go check on it, right?
Yes, we got notifications making sure that to secure them, or if they're already been secured, just making that check on the doors.
Okay, so you were going up the fire escape to get there?
Via the stairwell. I was coming from the 31st up to the 32nd.
Right.
When I approached the door, it didn't open, and it was blocked off, so I had to reroute.
Is that a normal thing that the door at the fire escape or the stairwell would be blocked off?
No, they're always supposed to remain open.
Right.
And so, after I would drop down, and I came back out of the hallway.
Okay, let's pause for a moment. So, he says he was on the 31st floor, went up to the 32nd floor via the stairwell, got there, couldn't open that door. It was blocked. So he says he had to reroute, and he drops back down. So meaning he drops back down to the 31st floor, as I'm understanding what he's saying.
And then I approached the room, got into the door. There was a metal bracket holding the door in place.
Right. So what we're talking about here, just so everybody's clear. Okay, so this is where the hotel room where the shooter was. This is the stairway, and this door here was blocked, and you didn't know that till you came up through the elevator and went through this door and saw that there was something blocking that door. And when you saw that, did you think, that's weird, why would somebody put brackets on a door?
Yeah, that's just out of the ordinary.
That was the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you walk out of this, and this just slammed?
Well, when I was in between that area, I was calling security dispatch to get transferred to engineering.
Okay, hold on. So honestly, he does a good job here in the fact that he has to bring her back, because Ellen's getting a little bit ahead of herself, because she's like, so then you start going down that hallway. But he's like, no, now wait a minute, because there's an important thing in that foyer area. Remember, he has to make sure that he says he makes a phone call to report the bracket and report the door as being barricaded, or however you want to say it. Now, I didn't hear him say I used a house phone. I heard him say I had to call to get, dispatched or get connected with the engineering. Actually, let's back that up for a second and see exactly what he says.
Area, I was calling security dispatch to get transferred to engineering. They didn't know anything about it.
Okay, so he had to call security dispatch to get transferred to engineering, and they didn't know anything about it. So he never said, I used my cell phone, I used my radio, I used a house phone. No, he just had to make that call, and he had to bring Ellen back. He had to stop her and say, wait a minute, you're getting ahead of yourself, because obviously she knows his story, or the story, almost as well or better than he does. So let's continue.
They dispatched an engineer to go verify what that was.
That's when you got called.
Okay. And at that time, I heard what I assumed it was drilling sounds, and I believe that they were in the area working somehow.
You thought the drilling, they were gunshots, but you thought it was just drilling sounds.
At first, I think it was just drilling sounds.
Right. So then, at what point did you get shot? What happens here?
As that door's closing, and it's so heavy, it'll slam. I'm walking down this way, and I believe that's what caught the shooter's attention.
Okay. I really apologize for the quality. I cannot find a good video of this interview with any audio that's any decent, and then I have audio issues with this laptop anyway, so I really apologize. But, so, if we're looking at the fit report, well, not even looking at that, just number one. So when he had to reroute, he says he drops down and he comes back up via the elevator and into the core and just comes, you know, walking down that 100 hallway to get to that stairwell door. And he calls it the room. I find that odd, but whatever. So we know now, apparently, that there was a camera mounted to the peephole in room 135, which would be aimed directly down that hallway. We know that there was a cart in front of door 134, which basically looked right across the hallway at that stairwell door. So, I'm surprised he didn't get shot earlier. Just saying. But now, now he's on the trek back down the 100 hallway, away from those rooms.
As I was walking down, I heard rapid fire, and at first I seemed covered. I felt a burning sensation. I went to go lift my pant leg up, and I saw the blood. That's when I called it in on my radio that shots have been fired, and I was gonna say that I was hit, but I got all over myself just to clear that radio traffic or you can coordinate the rest of the call. So
okay. Oh, that's so painful. Okay, so he says after he got shot, he calls in on his radio. Shots were fired. And he was gonna say that he was hit, but he decided not to. That he better just leave that, radio not be on there because obviously they're gonna have to start coordinating some things using that radio channel. So he gets on his cell phone and then he calls from his cell phone to tell security that he has been shot. That's my understanding.
So he shot, you didn't even know, he shot through this door, right?
Yeah, from behind the door. I didn't know how he was shooting.
Yeah.
But he shot out.
Right, so you didn't even know it was coming from here. So it's Steve, at this point, so you're called up, you just think that you're coming to look at a door that's been blocked in the firewall, right?
Yeah, I didn't think anything out of the ordinary at the time. We came from a higher floor and came down a different hallway on the surface elevator. And walked down rounded the corner from 100 hallway. And that's when it was quiet this time. The doors are shut.
Okay. So, when old Steven gets down there, he never says what floor he comes from. Like it's a secret. He only ever says, I come from a higher floor. Okay. And comes down the service elevator, which is on the 200 wing. He's got to walk to the core to get to the 100 hallway. He's doing that. It's quiet. So, Steven has no effing clue, okay? That there's this crazed gunman in the room at the end of the hallway, firing off rounds like a mofo. So, it's quiet, so he doesn't know. He doesn't know what he's walking into.
Not about a foot. It's just towards the end of the hallway, but I didn't know at that time. I thought I saw someone up out of the cubby. I kept walking, and once we got more than halfway, that's when I saw Jesus and started to hear shooting. I thought, at the time I didn't know it was shooting, I thought it was a jackhammer. as an engineer, we're not working up here this late at night. We wouldn't be doing that.
Right.
And it was, well, I believe outside, it wasn't in the hallway yet. And that's when he leaned out, he said, take cover, yelled at me, and I was if he could say that, I would have gotten hit.
Because he was still shooting, so you would have been hit had he not told you.
Yeah, it wasn't even fully covered. They were asking me to feel pressure.
You could feel the pressure going past you, just even being out of the way. And were guests coming out of the door?
There was a female that came out, and I told her to go back and see if it wasn't safe. Shortly after, that's when Stephen was approaching. I told him to stay back and get covered. And that's when more rounds were dispersed.
Right. Wow. So, and I mean, he saved your life. And he saved also the woman that came out of the door to I know that, first of all, thank you so much for being here, and I know that you've had so many people asking for you to tell the story and to talk about this, and I understand your reluctance because you just want this to be over. So you're talking about it now, and then you're not going to talk about it again, and I don't blame you because why relive this over and over again? But it's helpful for people to understand what a hero you are because...
Okay. We're good there. So, excuse me. Again, I think he's lucky he made it through that interview. I mean, Ellen basically led him through the whole thing. Now, like I said, he did do a good job of slowing her down and taking her back to that one crucial moment that he needs to state as a fact that within that foyer area, he made that first call. That was of big importance there. Stephen Shuck, I don't know. Just don't know. So, as I said, he says he doesn't hear anything when he rounds that into that 100 hallway. Interesting to say the least. Especially when you look at the fit report, and there's a couple of different sections actually. There's the incident, which I believe is just authored by the detectives that did this report, so it's kind of their take on the whole thing. And then, in a latter part, there is the scene description, or witness interviews and scene descriptions. I think it's in the witness interviews that it goes into a lot more detail with everything. So, we're going to get Mr. Jesus off our screen here. So now, if we go to the fit report, there are going to be two sections, really, that we're looking at the area that I want to concentrate on right now. So, the first is incident details, and then, again, witness interviews. So, the incident details, that's what I'm thinking, is something that was just authored by the authors of this report. And then, within the witness interviews, that goes into more detail, and they give you a description of the things that they used and the information sources that they had. So we'll look into that a little bit further, but let's right off the bat get to page 5. So the incident, and actually starts out, the narrative starts out with, guess who? None other than Jesus Campos. You know, he was assigned to check several of these alarms, various rooms. Now, room 32-129 was the last of the rooms that he was assigned to check. So, Officer Campos was on the 30th floor and responded to the 32nd floor via the stairwell. Now, again, in the Ellen interview, he said he was on the 31st floor, but we'll give him this one, okay? Security Officer Campos attempted to enter the hallway to the 100 wing, but the door would not open. He took the stairs to the 33rd floor and used the guest elevator to access the 32nd floor. Now, in the Ellen interview, remember when he gets stopped because that door won't open? He says, I had to reroute. I dropped back down a floor to the 31st floor, rode the elevator up, popped up, got to the center core, came down that 100 hallway. So now, in this report, again, it says he took the stairs to the 33rd floor and used the guest elevator to access the 32nd floor. Once on the 32nd floor, he entered the foyer leading to the stairwell. He discovered an L bracket screwed to the door and door frame. That's why it wouldn't open. He called his dispatch center with the house phone located in the foyer to report the discovery. The security dispatch center then called the engineering section to have the door checked. Meaning, that's when Stephen Shuck gets involved. But now, if we look at the same information in the sequence of events, so I'm sorry I said witness interviews, but if we're looking at the sequence of events, then again, we're going over these same things, and it tells us that all the details were gathered from several different sources. The body-worn cameras, interviews, Uber video, civilians, Mandalay Bay employees, Mandalay Bay video surveillance, lock integration documents, cell phone videos, records, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so there is a video, surveillance video. Obviously, they won't show it to us, but so we're going to skip all the Stephen Paddock stuff because I know a lot of people are digging into that. I'm concentrating on Mr. Campos. So in the sequence of events from approximately 8:40 to 10:05, a series of events led up to the mass shooting allegedly conducted by Paddock. Again, here we go. What's the first person that we're talking about? Mr. Jesus Campos. So approximately 8:40, an alarm was generated for 32-129. At approximately 9:18, that call was assigned to Jesus via his cell phone. He was assigned 5 alarms during that call that he got on his cell phone at 9:18. According to interviews with the hotel staff, it's common to assign the alarms to security officers and then immediately close them out prior to a security officer actually checking out the room. Boy, that's safe. So Campos handled that call for room 32-129 last. Now, again, and we keep seeing that, 32-129. And that was the last alarm. So they really want us to know that and believe that. I'm not talking about deadbolts or anything like that. I got there's great people out there doing that. So, at approximately 9:46 to 10:04, this is when this sequence of events starts to happen. Who's our first player? Jesus. He enters the elevator at 9:46, got off on the 30th floor at approximately 9:47. He walked to the stairwell in the 100 wing of the 30th floor and walked up to the 32nd floor. He tried to gain entry, but he couldn't, due to that door being barricaded. Footnote number 9, let's go see what that says. The investigation would reveal the door leading to the stairwell to the 32nd floor was barricaded by an L bracket screwed into the door and the door frame. Okay. So he walked up the stairs to the 33rd floor. Then he walked down the 100 wing of the 33rd floor to the center core and took the guest elevator down to the 32nd floor. Okay, at approximately 10 o'clock, he exits the guest elevator. He walks up towards room 32-129 because that was his last alarm that he needed to check. And, well, what do you know? He checks it, and it was secure. That was never mentioned anywhere before, but so he's doing his job. Then he continues to walk towards that foyer leading to the stairwell. He gets there to that room, as he calls it, which I find odd. And that's when he observes the L bracket screwed into the door and the frame. So he gets there. He checks 32-129 is fine. At approximately 10:04, then he picked up a house phone located inside the small foyer leading to the stairwell and called security dispatch to report the L bracket on the door to the stairs. Security dispatch transferred the call to maintenance dispatch. Maintenance dispatch then transferred him to the maintenance supervisor's cell phone. Okay? I'm thinking, whoa, this is going to take a minute or two here. Little bit different than how it was explained in the incident details. So, I'm thinking right now, he is in that foyer for, he's been mulling around there for a good 4 to 6 minutes now. Remember the cameras. I don't know. So, then again, so he was basically on the phone for 2 minutes. Because now, at approximately 10:06, Security Officer Campos ended the phone call and hung up the house phone. After hanging up the phone, he heard what he described as rapid drilling noises. Now, what do you think they want us to believe here? Did he really use that house phone? Well, of course, because he ended the phone call, he had to hang up the house phone, and after hanging up that phone, I mean, come on, that is a little overkill right there. Then, so in the meantime, while he's, getting transferred and dispatched and all these things, they contact Stephen Shuck. He was contacted by the maintenance dispatcher via his radio. Because, remember, the maintenance dispatch transferred Jesus to the maintenance supervisor. So he was free from that phone call to be able to radio Stephen Shuck regarding the door that was barricaded. And I think I got a little bit ahead of myself too, because again, in the incident details, it's going to be a little bit different story than what we're seeing here. Okay, so now you've got Stephen Shuck on his way to check out that door on the 32nd floor. Now, so after Jesus finally gets off the phone in the foyer, the house phone, remember, the one that he had to hang up and all that stuff, he starts walking down the hallway towards the center core. In the meantime, Stephen Shuck was told by his supervisor to go to the 32nd floor. This is all occurring at the same time as Jesus is walking down that 100 hallway. Paddock starts firing the rounds down the hallway at Jesus. He was struck in the left calf with a bullet fragment, and he took cover in between rooms 32, 124, and 122. Okay, so then within that same time frame, Jesus told his dispatcher via his radio, hey, there's shots fired in 32-135. In the meantime, Stephen Shuck's dispatcher told him specifically where to go on the 32nd floor. And Mr. Engineer Shuck left the room on the 62nd floor and walked to the service elevators with his equipment cart. The service elevators are located in the 200 wing of the hotel. So, as Jesus is calling saying there's shots fired, Stephen Shuck's being dispatched directly to where there's shots being fired. Okay. Apparently takes Stephen a good 4 minutes to get to the 32nd floor, to get to the center core. Now, why didn't somebody warn him? Because 4 minutes ago, Jesus radioed in that there was shots being fired on the 32nd floor coming from room 135. And security knew that they had just been on the phone with him prior. They had transferred him to engineering. You know, they should have made that connection that somebody else was dispatched out. Somebody was heading towards that hallway. But apparently they didn't, because Stephen Shuck just keeps going, towards the 32nd floor to get to, room, or to get to that foyer area. So he's walking up the 100 hallway towards 32-135, which is at the end of the hall. As he walks, he heard what he believed to be a jackhammer sound in the distance, and quickly recognized that it was gunfire. But now, when he was on the Ellen show, he said as he started walking up and rounded that corner, it was silent. He didn't hear anything. So, I don't know. After the gunshots stopped, that's when Jesus yelled at him to take cover. Now, on Ellen, he said, if he didn't tell me to take cover a second sooner, because right after he did, a millisecond after he said take cover, that's when the bullets started flying. So, now, in this report, it says that the shots were fired, and then Jesus tells him to take cover. So he takes cover in between, on the opposite side, rooms between 119 and 117. Paddock fired the rounds down the hallway at Engineer Shuck. He was not struck by gunfire. He attempted to open room 32-117 with his master key. However, the deadbolt was engaged and he wasn't able to gain entry into the room. But he did apparently radio and tell them that somebody was firing a rifle down the 32nd floor hallway. Okay, so hang with me. Now we are back to the incident details, which I think is just authored by the authors of this report. So they kind of gloss over, security dispatch center called the inner engineering section to have that door checked. Now, in the schedule of events, I'm saying that wrong. In the, how long is it? I'm so sorry. Sequence of events, it's a little different scenario where they have Jesus in that foyer on that house phone for 2 minutes getting transferred here, there, and everywhere. So, he, again, well, they put in here after he hung up the phone. Now, they didn't drive it home as hard as as they did in the sequence of events, but they get it in there. He heard the gunfire coming down, from the area of 32-135, realized he'd been shot in the left calf. He took cover and utilized both his cell phone and radio to notify his dispatch he was shot. In his interview, he says he radioed, shots were fired, room, floor 32, 135, and then he gets on his cell phone because he didn't want to tie up radio to tell them that he was actually shot. So, now get this. Mr. Campos advises he was shot with a BB or pellet gun. While waiting for other security personnel to arrive, he continued to hear gunfire coming from the room. Okay, I have 4 brothers, and growing up, obviously, in Michigan, we shoot a gun or two. I've shot BB guns, I've shot pellet guns, I've shot rifles. I had 4 brothers who were into hunting and fishing. You are not going to mistake a BB or pellet gun with an AR. I'm sorry, that just does not happen. But now, I have to not get ahead of myself, because this, however redonkulous that it sounds, I think ties in with something else. And that just came to me today. So, if this thing is just a trip. Anyway, so he advises that he was shot with a BB or pellet gun, and he's waiting for other people to get there. In the meantime, remember, we've got Stephen Shuck. He finished fixing that leak in 62-207 when he was directed to respond to the 32nd floor, reference the bracket preventing the stairwell door from opening. He used the service elevator in the 200 wing to access the 32nd floor. When he arrived, now, this is important. When he arrived on the 32nd floor, he gathered his tools and equipment and walked from the 200 wing to the 100 wing. That sounds like his tools were already on the 32nd floor. When he arrived on the 32nd floor, he gathered his tools and equipment and walked from the 200 wing to the 100 wing. It didn't say when he was directed to respond to the 32nd floor and he was leaving the 62nd floor, he gathered his tools and his equipment. No, he did not do that until he got to the 32nd floor. I find that quite interesting. So, here he is, walking. He walked halfway up the 100 wing. Okay, so he did a good job on Ellen, stayed on narrative. He observed Jesus poke his head out. Then he heard the rapid gunfire coming from the end of the hallway, which lasted approximately 10 seconds. When the gunfire stopped, that's when Jesus told him to take cover. Now, again, in the Ellen interview, it was reversed. Because he was walking, he thought he saw movement in that alcove. He didn't hear it. He wasn't hearing anything. Not a thing. Or something jackhammering, but gee, they aren't working on anything at that time of night on a Sunday night. And then, all of a sudden, Jesus tells him to take cover. And within a millisecond after that, that's when the gunfire starts. Jesus saved his life. Okay. So, the gunfire lasted a few seconds. So Jesus tells him to take cover. He steps into the alcove. More gunfire. It lasted a few seconds. The gunfire started again after a brief pause. But Stephen believed it was directed outside and not down the hallway. Okay. So that was in the details, which again are different than the sequence of events. So this is just, if you want to, it's semantics. It's the details. It's the things that they omit. It's the things that they over exaggerate. The house phone and hanging it up and picking it up and oh my God, everything you have to do. Who even knows how to use a regular phone, like a wall phone anymore? I couldn't tell you the last time I used one of those things. And again, to me, it doesn't make sense. He's got his cell phone. He's got his radio. Why the hell does he pick up the house phone in the foyer to make a call like that? It makes 0 sense. 0 cents. And I made this comment on a video a day or two ago, and I really pissed some guy off because how dare I just, whatever, because I was like, I'd really like to see the house, if there's a house phone in that foyer area. Oh, that doesn't matter, and he used his cell phone, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wait a minute, it does matter, because this is something that, the report is putting out to us that this is what the security officer did. This is the phone that he used. So don't tell me that that is not important. Do I believe that that's the way it happened? No, not in any way, shape, or form. However, it's important to realize the things, the Kool-Aid that they're trying to make us drink. And so right now, I know that I've probably been rambling, but we're going to stop here for this one, part 1. There's going to be a few more parts, and believe me, it's going to be worth it, I think. In my opinion, again, these are my opinions. I could be wrong. If somebody can prove otherwise, I will graciously and gladly accept that. However, if you just want to shit talk and say I'm wrong without showing me any evidence or reasoning behind your opinion, if you don't put yourself out and make videos and put yourself out for people to, judge and ridicule you, then, I really don't even want to hear from you. I respect everybody that is making videos that's investigating. Whether I agree with them or not, I still respect them because they are doing something more than just sitting on their butts and commenting, day and night and judging when they're not actually doing anything else to really investigate or look at things in a different perspective. So I'm going to stop here for now. I know. And again, I really wish I had a clever, concise way to bring this to you. And I want to kind of rein it in, and I'm really trying hard to do that. But I appreciate it if you stay with me, comment. I know you'll let me know one way or another. I appreciate your time, and I will be back soon. Have a great day.